These are not the policies and procedures you are looking for. Obi-Wan.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims from HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is my co-host, Donna Grindle of Card and Compliance. I don't even know if I should ask you how it's going.
Well, I was all prepared to say I was using the power of positive thinking and going to say, it's great, and I've got so much energy.
Well, we spared the listeners from the story that you just gave before we hit record. I don't even want to go through it again, but as you said, it involved you in an emergency room visit or
urgent care
visit. Kind of funny. If you like somebody else's pain, it's funny. But at the same time, it's kind of cringing as you listen. So if you're very interested in the story, just email Donna. She'll tell you about it. Otherwise,
all you have to know is do not put a splinter under your fingernail. That's it. Straight up under there is not, it's a torture mechanism for a reason.
Yep.
Okay. So
other than that, let's get into the things we have coming up. So we're quickly approaching our HIPAA boot camp. So I definitely want to push that a little bit and talk about it. And so if you're interested in more, and we'll talk about it a little bit more here in a second, but it will be on May the 11th and 12th. And you can find information at helpmewithhipaa.com/bootcamp or thehipaabootcamp.com. They both take you to the same place. And in this boot camp, we're covering everything from basic HIPAA concepts to building your training program, doing risk analysis, how to address IT security, business associate management. I mean, I can go on and on and on. This is going to be a super intensive, comprehensive. Can you think of any more intensive I can do? It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna give you some templates, and not all the policy and procedure templates. And listen to that episode on policy and procedure templates if you want to know why. But we're going to tell you a few ideas of ways to get things done. But we will give you some templates on some other things. So.
Very good. So, and you got some speaking engagements coming up, right?
Oh yeah. Well, by the time this is released, I will have returned from Hilton Head Island.
And sobered up.
I am going to the Great Whiskey Debate the day before this one comes out. So
that's why I say that.
Yeah. All right. So the Georgia MGMA annual conference, I enjoyed it, I'm sure, because I know a lot of those folks. And I'm going to be at the beach. So I'm really, I'm sure I'm happy about how that went at this time. But then we have our boot camp, which is like the next week. It's right after this one is released. And South Georgia MGMA in June. Valdosta. The Atlanta Association of Legal Administrators. They're all worried that I'm going to be too technical. I'm on try. North Metro MGMA and the Georgia Association of Orthopedic Executives have set something up both in October and November, respectively. So, got a lot going on. I'm not bored. We'll go with that.
All right.
And you have big news. Your son graduated from boot camp.
Yep, Air Force boot camp.
He's officially an airman.
He is. And last week, of course, by the time we're here, it'll be a week behind. But anyway, last week, in real time here, I drove out to San Antonio from little old Lancaster, South Carolina. It was a long, arduous drive.
With your triplets.
With my triplets. It's a 18-hour drive, which we made it in 18 hours, which included stopping and eating and stopping and filling up and stopping to rest. So that'll tell you kind of what my miles per hour was. It's well above the posted speed limit.
Hey, if this was, speeding was covered like HIPAA, you'd have to call and report yourself.
Well, the thing about it is, honestly, if you didn't go at least 5 miles and over the speed limit,
you get run over.
Yeah, you would. I mean, there was a few places, and funny thing is that actually it was in Atlanta, that I was literally doing 93 miles an hour and being passed like I was sitting still.
That's everything is the Atlanta International Raceway.
I mean, it was crazy. Now, when you get out in some of the other states, especially down in Texas, the speed limit is actually 75. So, of course, that means 85. But, no kidding. I would be, I would be doing 85 and cars would pass me doing at least 10 miles over what I was doing. And police officers would just kind of let them go. Like, that's not fast enough. Stop them. It's like, okay.
I just got done running after the last one. Actually now we just count on the road exploding or collapsing, and one of those two will happen.
Yeah, that is Atlanta for you.
Yes.
But, I did get through Atlanta before the traffic started. I actually made it my mission to go through there in the middle of the night so that I wouldn't have to get caught back up in that on the way back. But it was good. It was a fun trip. Proud of him. So we talked before the show about what to name this, and I think we talked about naming it after the song, not necessarily the song itself, but part of the song where it says no, because we waited for more resolutions to come out before we did the episode a couple weeks ago, and nothing showed up, and then as soon as we released the episode, we get another resolution.
Yeah, and then they just kept coming.
Yeah, I know.
Bam,
and it's
3 in a row.
Like, right. And so, and the reason we say all the no stuff is because it's, no risk analysis, no BAA, no policies and procedures. It's just all about no's. This nobody. No.
Yeah. Well, we're not singers. That's why we're not hosting a music podcast. So to date, and, by the time this comes out, there may be another one at the rate they're going.
Mm-hmm.
They had 3 so far in April, and we got a couple more days left in April. But that's a total of 7 resolutions, which is we're halfway to where we were last year at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And over $14 million, $14.3 million, which is more than halfway to where they were at the end of the year last year. So their whole point, they said, in all of the different presentations we've heard from, they're trying to set examples so that other people will do what needs to be done and not do what these people did wrong.
So learn from others' mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're new to the show, the reason why we go over these resolutions and things like that is because this tells you exactly what they're looking for. This tells you the problems that somebody else had and the results of that. So it's the best training and learning that you can possibly get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's free consulting.
Yep. So we're going to take that free consulting and we're going to turn it into a podcast so we can give it to you.
There you go. You don't have to read. You can just drive along and listen.
Yep, just listen.
Okay. So listen.
Brings us to the first one, April 12, 2017. Metro Community Provider Network.
MCPN. So this one, it goes back to 2012, which, a lot of these do. They're really old, and we've talked about, once you have one of these, it can drag on for years. But they filed a breach report because they're supposed to, and a hacker accessed employees' email accounts, and in the emails was PHI. 3,200 individuals. Hello. And OCR said, well, we're checking out everybody that has over 500 because they do.
Mm-hmm.
And the investigation revealed that they did take the necessary corrective action to the phishing incident. They did what they were supposed to do when phishing occurred. Good. Okay. Good for you. But when we did our investigation, we see that you had never done a risk analysis, like ever.
Oh, not good. Which, of course, if you don't do a risk analysis, then you can't do a risk management plan because it's based on the risk analysis.
Yeah. So
can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
We're just going to sing the whole episode.
Oh, that's going to be bad. We'll lose all of our listeners. But anyway, so you have no risk analysis ever done. And guess when they did one?
After the fact.
In February. Sure. So in January, they filed the breach report that they had the problem that they had been breached with the phishing attack. And then in February, somebody went, better get busy because they're coming to investigate us. And,
I'm sure somebody said, what do you mean we don't have a security risk analysis?
Yeah. Well, these things happen. But, it does get worse because, so they'd never done one. And then everybody panics and they apparently do one in February. But then the statement was fairly clear. OCR said when MCPN finally conducted a risk analysis, that risk analysis, as well as all subsequent risk analyses, were insufficient to meet the requirements of the security role.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what they did.
Well, they ran one of those little things.
That's what I was wondering. Did they throw the thing on there, run it,
easy,
spit out a bunch of policy procedure stuff, and they said, here we go.
Yeah. We've seen enough of it to know when people give us, I've gone in and people hand me a binder and say, this is our risk analysis. And I open it up and it's just a report with a list of things they need to do. And number one is do a risk analysis. And I'm like, it's saying you're going to do a risk analysis and you think this is a risk analysis. So no. And and we've just talked today about, these HIPAA made easy, all automated, you don't have to do anything. How are you going to do the likelihood and impact analysis and all of those kinds of things automatically?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen anything yet. The bad thing is these tools aren't in and of themselves bad, but I think they're misused because they're good for supplementing what you do, but they don't do everything for you. And I think that's what people consider them as.
The implication is that they do, and that's where the problem is.
It's the silver bullet. We're just going to do this one thing and we got it. We killed HIPAA.
We rock it. We're ready. So, it's good at generating paperwork, but it's not good at doing your compliance. So, protecting your data and having you prepared for things. So anyway, Severino, who is our new OCR director, and I think I mentioned before, he said in his first public comments at the HIPAA Summit that his father had been a victim of identity theft. And what the stress that created and the problems that created for him has made him very sensitive to this issue. And so, I suppose, when he came in and took office, he could have said, let's hold on all of these resolutions and let's not do them, because everybody was thinking they were going to, back off on the enforcement. And I suppose he could. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV, but they could have done it. He clearly hasn't because they did 3. So this is the 4th one since he took office. But his, they generally will do a quote from the OCR director. And this one was, patients seeking healthcare trust, as we just talked about, are we running into a problem with trust? Trust that their providers will safeguard and protect their health information. Compliance with the HIPAA security rule helps covered entities meet this important obligation to their patient communities. Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like he gets it.
Yeah, he sees it as, something that you got to do, and we give you the steps you should follow, and then if you don't follow them, what are we supposed to do? So I said that, we always talk about what we've learned because we're supposed to learn from others' mistakes. And so my note to self on this one is, and this one's one that always bothers me. Everybody worries about their email being encrypted. Oh, I've got an encrypted email. I can do this. I can do that. I can do this. And I can send PHI all I want through encrypted email. Well, the problem with that is if your email gets hacked and somebody gets into the email itself, they have access to everything. So it doesn't matter whether it's encrypted or not.
Right.
So you've got to stop that actual hack from occurring. And so even if it was encrypted, which is irrelevant here, because they don't even, they just got in. They were in the whole email account. So you have to think of that second piece. You can't feel comfortable that I'm doing email encryption, so therefore I have nothing to worry about. Our emails and like yours, we can encrypt things in them. But more importantly to me is I am able to put a second factor authentication. I have a password. I don't even know what it is. It's so complicated. The password manager does it for me. And then I have to have the authenticator in order to re-authenticate on new devices and re-update. So encrypted email, not a panacea either. And then importantly, if you panic and do your SRA at the last minute, like maybe after a phishing attack breach, you will likely not meet the standard and be in the same boat with these guys. You'll just have thrown stuff together. I don't know how much that will matter. At least say, look, we realized we'd never done one, so we tried to throw one together. Hope you're happy with it. But so far, so good. That's all that we can say when it comes to what they did. Well, we're good until somebody actually looks at it.
Right.
Gives you an opinion. There you have it. So that was the first one. You got anything to add there, David?
No, I think you hit, especially the email part. I think that people completely misunderstand the encryption piece, how it's not, it's not encrypted if it's, if you're sitting there in it and you can look at it. And, we run into that a lot with encryption of just hard drives. And they assume that, my computer or my laptop's encrypted, I'm good. But if you're in the laptop and it's open and somebody accesses it, then the encryption is not working at that point. So
that's that whole point.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the same. It's like having a laptop that's encrypted, but you carry the encryption key with the laptop, or even better, you tape it to the keyboard.
I've seen it. I took pictures of it.
Yeah, you did. I saw it too. So
not just that one, but every password was on the keyboard.
That one was terrifying.
Yeah.
So there we have it now. Number 2, April 20th. And this one was an interesting one because it's a very specific specialty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't even know that this was a thing. The Center for Children's Digestive Health.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure. They have 7 clinics in Illinois. And, it's a for-profit group. And this was like a tiny dollar amount. So it didn't make all of the big headlines.
Right.
But I do want to make sure I point out that $400,000 settlement with Metro Community we just talked about also included a 3-year corrective action plan. And
that's where they get you.
Yeah.
That's where they get you.
More expensive and time-consuming than anything else. So anyway, these guys, $31,000 and a 2-year corrective action plan.
Yeah, that's going to be expensive.
Yeah, the $31,000, it seemed like, well, what is it, a not-for-profit or a tiny little thing? No, they're just fining you a little bit, but they could have gone like, gangbusters.
Mm-hmm.
I almost said something to the walls, but they could have gone gangbusters with this one because the story is to do with the lack of a business associate agreement. So not having a business associate agreement at all.
Mm-hmm.
Since 2003.
Oh boy. And I know of things like this that are happening right now.
Yeah. We could probably go into most any office that's not already our client
mm-hmm.
and be able to find these.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they take it very seriously. And even in some of the big organizations, they have issues with this, that people will sign up for something in another silo and never include the compliance people, which it's a big problem, and I understand it. So at any rate, the CCDH, Center for Children's Diagnostic Health, had a vendor called FileFax that stored their inactive medical records, and they would do the retrieval when they needed them, the paper records.
Mm-hmm.
And they had been using them since 2003, and they clearly like them. We have all of that, and especially you get those vendors where you're tight, it works well, funding's good, nobody worries about it. And so over the time frame from 2003 to October 2015, when they finally did create a business associate agreement, they had been giving patient information, 10,728 patient details, their complete records, to FileFax without a BAA. And then when they finally created one, because it was too little too late, because here's how it got found. what had happened was, it's another one of those famous, reporter in a dumpster things. We hear those a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I love the pictures of the reporter standing in the dumpster we had on our last one we discussed. But he went dumpster diving, and who knows how that happened. But they were actually in the dumpster by the building and around the whole Filefax place. And they found all kinds of records in February 2015 in the dumpster, and even in a car parked out in the parking lot. They could stand there and read a patient's records just laying on the seat. So clearly they were less than diligent about how they handled all this. So that means that OCR has been investigating that business associate. So that happened because it's on the news. It's on the news. And the Chicago Attorney General, so remember, attorney generals can get involved. The attorney general then files suit and says, hey, you guys aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. And they're investigating Filefax. So they're like taking the lead in those violations. And OCR is clearly involved because they are then going and investigating the covered entities, clearly, who do not have a business associate agreement with these people. So they went and knocked on the door and said, well, Filefax can't show us a business associate agreement with you. What you got?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is that classic one where we talk with vendors and they say, well, they didn't give me one, so I didn't sign one.
Yeah.
I can assure you Filefax is in a lot of trouble. But then they're going and asking okay, well, you don't have one. Let's see if they have a copy of one. No. And, by the time they got asked about it and everybody started looking around, then it was too late because OCR started their investigation in August of 2015. So, this was a fairly new resolution. it's just 2 years, not even 2 years. So this is great. We're finally catching up.
This brings up a great point, though, that I've made before to people that, if your clients or your business associates somehow gets in trouble or gets audited, there's a high likelihood that might spill over into your business.
Well,
and so this is
they made that clear. Absolutely clear. Don't think that just because your business associate has a problem and they get investigated, it won't happen to you, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what scares me so much about my clients in the IT part is that sometimes they'll do things and you don't know about it, and I'm always nervous. I'm going to get that call that we did something wrong and there's a breach, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's terrifying. It's one of the reasons I got out of that business. I just couldn't handle the stress anymore.
Yeah, but the same thing's true though. If the IT vendor does something wrong and they get investigated, then their clients, can get investigated as well. I know of a clinic that they have an IT company that, they haven't signed a BAA and they don't, they're not doing what they should do. And if that IT company gets in trouble, then it's going to creep into the clinic and it's not going to be good.
No. The other thing is there's still people that believe if you don't sign the BAA, you're not liable. And they make it clear. The BAA is what covers both of you to say you're confirming that you understand this. But the work you do is what makes you a business associate.
Yep.
It's not the contract. So you're still a business associate and you still have to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be some more because clearly they had a ton of clients because the original story was about Suburban Lung Associates, not even these guys, where their data was there. Now, you can't, knowing back to 2015, you would hope that everybody's got them, but we both know that's not true.
Mm-hmm. Nah.
So we may see more of these or, well, who knows? This may be a message to all of the other ones. Why don't you just stroke me a check? And I thought it was also interesting. There was no quote to go with this one from Severino. And so I didn't know whether it was just like, this is so stupid, we had nothing to say. Or there's more to come or what. But, they just slipped this one out.
You do have to wonder, though, what the business implications are for this BA. When you have this type of thing happen, how many other clients are going to run the other way?
Well, yeah. but they've got so many records, and what did they do with them? And yeah, it's a big mess. And that's why, we always say, figure out all your BAs, and you're going to have some BAs. Like we don't store the data, and we don't actually have access to the data, but to do our jobs with them, there are times where we need to see the information because they're explaining to us a patient situation. So we sign a BAA, and we take it very seriously because kind of our job. But we wouldn't be considered a huge high risk like you would.
Right.
And so the ones who have persistent access to do their job, and they can, the security levels and all of those kind of things, we say rate them high and ask them more.
Yep.
But, AMA, you can ask me anything.
Mm-hmm.
So while it's $31,000, it may be one of the lowest ones I've ever seen. I think there might be one smaller, but it's a huge point that, they didn't dig around on anything else. They dug around on this point, and you don't have your ducks in a row. So notes to self on this one, David.
First of all, I think I would audit my BAAs and vet them.
Yeah, boy. Make sure they're actually doing the stuff.
Yeah, and that's there's a lot of people out there that aren't doing that. They just, here, sign this agreement, we're good to go. There's no vetting at all done other than, do you do HIPAA? Yeah.
I signed a BAA. That's enough. That's enough.
So, yeah. Or you got the other end. It's like, I signed the BAA and that's all I need to do, or I don't need to sign a BAA at all. But certainly should not assume that if your business associate gets investigated, that it won't come back on you. So just like we were saying a while ago, sometimes it can run downhill and sometimes it runs uphill.
That is the beauty of this, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, as we learned, don't forget that the state attorney generals can get involved, and that can be bad.
Yeah, that's a new part of the rule, that they can file suit on behalf of their constituents under HIPAA now. So that was part of high tech. And there's one other little note, which is the cap. And we always talk about the cap's pretty standard. You got to do a risk analysis. You got to do all of this. There said they had to do written policies and procedures.
Okay.
And when you read through what it's talking about there, and I'm thinking, why was it such a low number if they didn't have written policies and procedures? And so I'm following through it, and then it says specifically minimum written policy and procedure for business associate agreements. So they didn't dig any deeper into, or at least it doesn't sound like they dug any deeper into what their compliance program was. They focused on the business associate agreement. So the 2-year corrective actions is you've got to have written policies and procedures. You got to train your staff on it, and you got to be handling your business associates. So not the run-of-a-mill cap.
Nope, not a lot. So that brings us to April 24th.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, 4 days later. I mean, they are just rapid fire here.
Yeah. I was like, I just finished reading that one.
I know. And this one's CardioNet, covered entity in Pennsylvania. Kind of a nasty $2.5 million settlement and a 2-year cap.
Million.
I know, man. I hate those.
Oh. I'm sure, this wasn't fun for them either. Now, there is a quote in the press release that says this settlement is the first involving a wireless health services provider, as CardioNet provides remote mobile monitoring of and rapid response to patients at risk for cardiac arrhythmia. So their job is, we're going to put our little devices on, and if you start having problems, we're sending somebody.
Right.
So that's it's a great thing. But everybody made a big deal about it being a wireless health services provider. But to me, it really wasn't that big of a deal because it was just another unencrypted laptop issue. There was nothing that actually mentioned a problem with the wireless devices or the wireless services. Right. It was the same old stuff.
Yeah, but it's worth mentioning the same old stuff is somebody left an unencrypted laptop in a car. They got broken into and stolen, and it's almost like a repeat of the repeat of a repeat. It's like, how many more times? Oh, gosh.
Henry VIII, I am. Maybe I get another song in. But the real headline that came out on the press release, the one that ended up on a lot of the stories about it was the wireless health provider. But the real headline was from OCR, $2.5 million settlement shows that not understanding HIPAA requirements creates a risk. I think that's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're creating a risk just because you're not paying attention. You don't understand what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
So you are at risk because you do not understand.
Check the box. Check the box.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and that becomes a big problem. And going back to all you got to do is, or HIPAA made easy, and you trust those things, and then you end up in a bit of a bind. So it's certainly something that, let's just say, well, you and I made it clear. You know, in fact, Carla was talking with one of our clients recently, and they were talking about a business associate that they were vetting, and and so our client said, "Look, don't even tell Donna this, but they said they're HIPAA certified." Just don't even tell Donna. So yeah, Linda, I got the message, but I laughed really hard. But it gets back to that, is they think they know what they're doing because somebody said, I don't know if that's the case with these guys, but clearly. But it does go back to 2012 when BAs were, but this was a CE, so never mind. But it did get into, this is a good one. The findings were an insufficient risk analysis and risk management program. Clearly it was insufficient.
So they did something.
Mm-hmm. Policies and procedures. Now, this part was really important because we have talked about this. Were in draft form and never implemented.
Mm-hmm.
There were 0 finalized policies and procedures that could be produced. And this goes back to us, again, talking about policy and procedure templates. This is why we're not giving them out at the boot camp.
Yep.
We're taking some different approaches and we're trying to find ways to make it easier, but to just spit them out for you, like the number of times that we've gone in and we say, where are your written policies and procedures? And they hand you a book and you blow the dust off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, enter name here.
Yeah.
Is going to implement blah, blah, blah. So that's what happens. And these people were right up there in doing that. So, it's a real thing. But they did make a point about it being mobile devices, not so much the wireless, the wearables and stuff that everybody's, in 2012, we didn't have any of that, which I think is interesting. Nobody had those Fitbits, and your phone didn't calculate how many steps you'd taken, or at least how many times you'd fallen down.
You give those out at the bar. See who wins the night.
Yeah, I know, really. But the overall point that they made in their quote was that mobile devices in the healthcare sector remain particularly vulnerable to theft and loss. So, this is Severino's quote. And so they're saying it remains particularly vulnerable to theft and loss. So even though this happened in 2012, we know it's still happening because they're still getting reports of it. And then he says, failure to implement mobile device security by covered entities and business associates puts individuals' sensitive health information at risk. And then this last sentence was like, bam. This disregard for security can result in a serious breach which affects each individual whose information is left unprotected.
You can tell he's felt the burn.
Yeah. He talked about it, the stress it put on his dad. It's one thing when it happens to you, but if it happens to your parents, you don't want to see them having that stress.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm especially sure, he was a civil rights attorney his whole career in different aspects of it. So I'm sure it was just horrible for him to see that, his dad having to go through that. So I truly feel for him. And I really hope that I never have to deal with that with my close family members. My brother had his identity stolen, but I didn't care about that. No,
and
it's a long time ago.
It's somebody in his position when they use the word disregard.
Yeah.
It kind of means something.
These legal people, they know when they use their words, they mean something. Yeah. So, what are our notes to self on this one?
So I think if I were to have some notes to myself on this particular one, I would say that if you are subject to HIPAA, don't just poke it with a stick. I mean, you're either all in or you're all out.
Yeah.
What is that you used to say? Do your business or get off the pot?
That's right. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. One of the others.
Yeah, it's just, and I have this argument a lot with people with HIPAA for MSPs because they're IT vendors or not vendors, but IT providers are coming to me, and a lot of times the first question they're asking are about checklists and templates, and it drives me nuts. But anyway, I get it, I understand where they're coming from, but it really is just kind of poking at HIPAA. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of want to do this, but I kind of don't want to do this. I just want to check some boxes on a thing and get paid for it. You got to be all in or all out, and this is definitely one of that shows that.
Yeah, if you don't have the time to do it right, you definitely don't have the time to fix it after you've done it wrong.
Yeah,
or not done it at all.
But another thing is to consider the fact that this happened in May of 2012. They were being investigated, and the settlement was just short of 5 years later. not
yesterday, just yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. It's I don't want people in my business that long.
No, I don't want to go. They want what? And and that stress of waiting for, it's like you're waiting for the jury's verdict.
Yeah,
you've given them everything, you haven't heard anything. Stressful.
And I think the last thing, and we say this a lot, but sometimes we beat around the bush with it. But let's be absolutely black and white clear here. Templates are just not going to cut it. They're not bad in and of themselves. They're just not used properly. These are not policy and procedures that you're wanting to use. They're template, they're cookie cutter. They're just a bad idea. And I'm sorry for those of you out there selling these things and making $1 million a year. They make people lazy.
Well, they're a good idea if you use them correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is people think that they're something that you can just use.
Yeah.
And that's it. I just buy them and I'm done. And they don't understand or they don't choose to participate in actually using them and reading them.
Well, I just had somebody ask me earlier this week and here's how they put it. And this is the way they look at it. They said, do you have any fill in the blank policy and procedure templates? And that told me exactly what they were wanting to do with them. Mm-hmm. They were just wanting to fill in the blanks. And, that's just, unfortunately, it can't happen that way.
Yeah, we're trying to find a happy medium. We're starting soon to test a policy and procedure solution that we think may help at least get people to do them and handle them. I'm always trying new things and different things. But in this one, I did have to tip my hat because this was coming out first week of May. I did have to tip my hat to May the 4th. May the 4th
be with you.
These are not the policies and procedures you are looking for. So all of you who would get May the 4th, these are not the policies and procedures you are looking for. Obi-Wan.
Yeah. There's a segment of people laughing and another segment going, I don't get it. Yeah. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Look up May the 4th. Look up, these are not the droids you are looking for.
These are not the droids you seek.
Yeah. I always thought it was these are not the droids you seek, but everywhere you see it is these are not the droids you are looking for. But I always said it as seek. But anywho, but May the 4th. I'm going to
go back and watch it.
May the 4th be with you.
Very good. So anything else before we end this thing up?
Well, hopefully we'll get this one released before they throw another one out.
Yeah.
But usually when we do one, and I said that the last time, as soon as we do one of these, they throw another one out. So
we'll have a lot to talk about at the HIPAA boot camp.
Yeah.
May the 11th and 12th, Stone Mountain,
right.
Georgia.
You know what we didn't do is we didn't talk about how you could win $100. I think you can still win $100.
That's because I'm trying to keep it to myself.
There's people just going to be, they know that David's trying to steal the money.
I don't have the stuff in front of me that tells me how to win. So you'll have to go over that or they have to listen to the last episode.
See, if I don't like spoon feed you there, brother, you got nothing, huh?
I got nothing.
Okay, so
show up. We'll give you something.
Okay, so you got lots of ways to get entries into the drawing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the way that you get in a entry would be to sign up for the boot camp, right?
Bam. Yep.
Yeah, sign up for the boot camp. That gives you 3 entries right there. David's favorite one that can give you 4 entries is to come up with a stunt.
that gets major media press. I'm still waiting.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that one at all.
If you put "Help Me with HIPAA" and it goes streaking onto a major sports field,
okay, that'll help us there.
I'll just go ahead and let you. You'll just win at that point. I won't even.
David will give you your own. You won't even.
Yeah, I'll just give you another $100.
That's it. But you can get 2 entries by completing the listener survey, and just put in the notes because the survey is anonymous. You'd have to put in your email address and just say, "Give me $100."
Give me $100.
You can send an email that we joked about sending at the end of one of our episodes. It's been a while, but our longtime listeners will know what that is. And we've even had people say who sent those emails. So now's the time to send one. If you sent one before, send it again because we lost them. But send that email, and it has a certain subject that'll get you 2 entries. That may need to get you 4 because that is an obscure reference, but I thought it was something cool. And, do it. But then you can also get 1 entry by doing a shout out to us on any of the social media by referencing @HelpMeWithHIPAA and saying how great we are, or doing a review on iTunes, Stitcher, LinkedIn, wherever. For each one of those, we'll give you another entry, and send in a question to us via email, social media, or SpeakPipe. And those will also get you 1 entry into the drawing. So you got a lot of ways to get a lot of entries. So basically, you could be the one that has the most there,
yeah,
and be able to win.
Yeah.
So now,
and you do have to be present to win, right?
Here we go again with you. All right, so that's enough for today, folks, because we're just, what do they call it? Punch drunk. It's just getting silly now.
All right, that's our show for today, folks. So thank you for listening. If you would like to review us, and we do ask that you do, you can review us on iTunes, social media. I think you can even review us on Facebook nowadays.
Yeah. Stitcher, all that.
Yeah, all places to review. So review us out there on social media and help and share us out. Help those other people who are like you, who needs this information to find it. And also visit us on the web at helpmewithhipaa.com. And if you have a question, you can ask it right there. And we may even feature it on a future podcast. So remember, for Donna and myself, that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.